Greetings, viewers. This is Vincent Abrea, your anchor for today's news special. In regards to the upcoming commemoration of the Korean War this 25th of June, the KMA English Department will be giving you a feature special about the Philippines' participation during the Korean War and news concerning ROC-PH relations, especially for the welfare of each war veteran. To begin with the special, we have our special South Korea correspondent JV Marquez to deliver us the news in regards to the recent visit of Philippines Department of National Defense Secretary Honorable Delphine Lorenzana to South Korea. JV. Thank you, Vincent. Philippine Secretary of National Defense Delphine Lorenzana met with the newly appointed Minister of National Defense of the Republic of South Korea, Lee Jong-suk, during his official visit to South Korea on Friday last week, June 3, 2022, to discuss bilateral defense cooperation between the two countries. Prior to the meeting of the two defense chiefs, Secretary Lorenzana met with the Filipino military officers and the military cadets currently on training and education program in South Korea. Accompanying Secretary Lorenzana was the administrator of the Philippine Veterans Affairs Office, Undersecretary Ernesto Carolina, for the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Republic of Korea's Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs and the Philippines PVAO. It is noted that during the meeting of Secretary Lorenzana and Minister Lee, that both countries promised mutual rapport in the matters that they are currently facing, including issues in the West Philippine Sea and the Korean Peninsula. This is JV Marquez reporting. Thank you, JV. Up next is the main feature of this special, the coverage about the Philippines' participation in the Korean War. Reporting on this is Joshua Perez. Josh, get on with it. Thank you, Vince. The Philippines was the first Asian country to send combat troops to the Korean War that began on June 25, 1950. In an astonishing act of humanity and selflessness, the Philippines sent its soldiers to help defend South Korea against a massive communist invasion, despite its having to contend with the communist rebellion in its own territory and the painful challenge of rebuilding an economy crippled by World War II. Filipino Carlos Romulo, the first Asian to serve as President of the United Nations General Assembly in 1949, advocated the international defense of South Korea, thus moving the UN Security Council on the 27th of June 1950 to intervene in the affairs within the Korean Peninsula. September 7, 1950 is when the Philippine government responded with the approval of the Filipino Congress, making it possible to send a Filipino expeditionary force to South Korea to aid against the North Korean offensive. As a co-signer of the United Nations Charter, former President Elpidio Quirino stated that the Philippine government will be sending the Philippine Expeditionary Force to Korea, or more commonly known nowadays as PEFTOC, making it the third country worldwide and the first country within Asia to send aid to the Korean Peninsula. The Republic of the Philippines designated 5 battalion combat teams to comprise the PEFTOC, with a total number of 7,420 able soldiers. The first BCT to step foot in the Korean Peninsula was the 10th Battalion Combat Team, with about 1,400 men. They landed at Busan at September 19, 1950. Some of the notable names in the Philippines who participated in the Korean War would be former Philippine President Fidel Ramos, who was a second lieutenant back then when he was sent to the Korean War, and Captain Conrado Yap, who died in the battlefield at Yultong, Medal of Valor awardee and one of the 2 Filipinos who was given the Taeguk Medal by the South Korean government. The PEFTOC was comprised of these combat teams: 10th Battalion Combat Team, codename Motorized; the 20th Battalion Combat Team, codename Leaders; the 19th Battalion Combat Team, codename Bloodhound; the 14th Battalion Combat Team, codename Avengers; and last but definitely not the least, the 2nd Battalion Combat Team, codename Black Lions. One of the most memorable operations of the PEFTOC was the Battle of Yuldong, from where the 10th Battalion Combat Team, currently comprising of 900 personnel, went on to back up the United States 65th Infantry Regiment despite the huge disparity in numbers, considering that the combined Chinese and North Korean forces back then counted to about 40,000. In honor of the fallen Filipino soldiers during the bloody Korean War, multiple tribute monuments were constructed. Among these are the Philippine Monument in Goyang City, Gyeonggi Province, South Korea, the PEFTOC Memorial in Fort Bonifacio, Philippines, and the Korean War Memorial at the Philippine Military Academy in Baguio City, Philippines. Time may pass, but the bloodshed of everyone who fought in the Korean War will always be remembered in history and never forgotten. Likewise, the sacrifices made by the Filipino troops led to a deeper bond between the South Korean government and the Philippines. This is Joshua Perez reporting. Thank you, Josh. And that ends our special feature for today. Have a wonderful day, everyone.